Okay. Georgia as a royal colony. Georgia becomes a royal colony in 1752. Oglethorpe has been gone for approximately 10 years at this point. Georgia, the trustees give up their trustee charter, and they are turned back over to the king. And so they become a royal colony. From 1752 to 1776. Why does it end in 1776? Revolutionary War. Actually, the war begins in 75, but there's a document that's signed in 1776. What is it?
The Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence. So what does that do? Georgia and the other 12 colonies basically give the finger to King George and say, we do not want to be a part of you anymore. And so Georgia, according to Georgia historians, U.S. historians, would say that Georgia ceased to be a royal colony in 1776. The British might say something different. But regardless, it does begin in 1752. And that causes a change in government. The trustee colony and the royal colony function as two different things, two very distinct things. And Georgia becomes a royal colony in 1752. How many times can I say that? That Georgia becomes a royal colony in 1752. And by definition, a royal colony is one that is overseen or under the control of the crown or the king of England, the queen or the king of England, the crown. Parliament, in order for Georgia to become a royal colony, Parliament has to pass their charter. They have to be given permission. And had they not been given permission, I don't think I've said this today, but had they not been given permission, Georgia would have ceased to be a colony. It may have been given to South Carolina. In fact, that was part of the push that took place in 1752. Give it to South Carolina. Just think about that. Y'all could be South Carolinians. I wouldn't be because I'd have moved. But y'all could be South Carolinians. But, well, you know, Clemson has won more national championships than Georgia's even thought about. I'm not saying anything. So, fortunately for the people in the colonists, or in the colony rather, Parliament does approve the charter, and Georgia becomes a royal colony. And because we have this change from a trustee colony to a royal colony, there is a change in government. It's different. There will be somebody there with authority, somebody that does not have to go to the trustees and ask permission. So that's a big change. The other big change is that Georgians have to learn how to govern themselves. You might think, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What do you mean they have to learn how to govern themselves? What? No. They're actually going to have the opportunity to be involved in their government. In some ways, yes.
That's the American way.
Well, at that point in time, it was the English way. There's a royal governor, but people are also allowed to participate in government. And these people have never done it. Or if they've done it, it was when they were living in England. Now it's different. And so, for that 24-year period from 52 to 76, Georgia is under the rule of the British Crown. Now, here's the thing about the Crown. He's not here, is he? King George II never stepped foot on North American soil, ever. I'm not sure he ever left England, which is not that unusual. It was well into the 20th century before an American president ever left American soil. Mm-hmm. No.
Obama wasn't in the 20th century.
Yeah. So, what the King of England, in this case King George II, did was he appointed royal governors, and they would rule in his place. So the royal governor is the authority in a colony. He can make decisions on his own. He still has to answer to the king, but my old saying is, it's easier to ask forgiveness than ask permission sometimes. And if he has to make a decision, he can make a decision without worrying about how long it's going to take to get an answer from the king. Now, the king may say, wrong, didn't like that idea, go back and fix it. Or he might say, wrong, didn't like that idea, off with your head. Didn't happen, but it could have, because the king is still the ultimate ruler, but the governor is ruling in his place. He is his ambassador, his representative. And what he says is what's going to happen. Georgia has 3 different royal governors, and we'll talk about each of these in turn over the next 10 minutes. First is John Reynolds. He's the governor from 1754 to 1757. The second one is Henry Ellis. Again, another 3 years, 1757 to 1760. And then finally, you have James Wright. James Wright is the longest serving governor. 1760 to 1776. Again, why 1776? Declaration of Independence. But again, if you read a British history of the colony of Georgia, it would say 1782, because the Revolutionary War ends in 1782. And technically, James Wright was still the royal governor of Georgia at that time. He wasn't here, but he was still the royal governor of Georgia. No, he wasn't allowed to be the governor by the people of Georgia. Rings you got on? Huh. Okay. See, I see a lot of stuff, and that was on film, so I could. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about John Reynolds for just a second. Maybe not. There we go. This is John Reynolds' portrait. What do you see in the portrait that helps us learn something about him or know something about him? Okay, he has bad hair. That's beside the point. What's he wearing?
Oh, nice robes.
It's not a robe.
He has
It's a uniform.
He looks like a potato.
And actually, it is a uniform of the Royal Navy. So, what do you see in the background? A ship. John Reynolds is a naval officer in the British Navy. And that tells us a lot about him. Even in today's navies around the world, the Navy captain or the captain of a ship is as close to a god as you can come, because he is the ultimate authority. When people react to him, they have to react quickly. They react to what he commands, and they have to do it instantaneously, or the whole system falls apart. And so that's what John Reynolds is used to. He's used to telling people what to do and them doing it without asking questions. He's not used to politics. In fact, he doesn't have any political experience, except for those 3 years he serves as Georgia's royal governor. He is a naval officer. And that proves to be his undoing. That proves to be his downfall. That's why he's only the royal governor for a little less than 3 years. Having said that, and having not said that he was a terrible governor, I'll go ahead and say it though, John Reynolds does do some good things for the colony. He helps them understand this idea of self-government. He helps them in creating a bicameral legislature. Now, what does bicameral mean? Right there. What does bicameral mean? Two houses. Today, the United States has a bicameral legislature. We have the House of Representatives and we have the U.S. Senate. Georgia has a bicameral legislature, the Georgia General Assembly, the Georgia House, and the Georgia Senate. So that's just a fancy word that means two houses. If there was one house, what would it be? Not mono. Think about bicycles and tricycles and unicycles. It would be a unicameral legislature, one house. And there's actually a couple of states in the country that have unicameral legislatures. Pretty weird, actually. By the way, what kind of government do we have? A democratic republic. It's not a democracy. It's not a true democracy. Because in a true democracy, all the people would voice their opinion. If there was a bill that needed to be passed into a law, in a democracy, all of us would vote on it. In a democratic republic or a representative democracy, it's the same thing. We elect people to represent us in government and to make decisions for us. Sometimes they make really bad decisions. Just the way it is. All right. So, Reynolds gets into a disagreement with the legislature, and he sends them home. He shuts them down and sends them home, which he could do. That was within his power as the governor. He messed up by not allowing them to come back. And as a result, he's trying to rule, govern, direct Georgia all by himself. And it did not work. He failed. Parliament recognizes that, and so in 1757, they call him back to England. They basically look at him and they say, "You're fired. Come home." He gladly comes home. I don't think he enjoyed being governor too much. All right, so that's John Reynolds. Don't have to know a lot about him. Just know he existed. He was terrible. Or in the words of Charles Barkley, he was terrible. Terrible. All right. Number 2 is Henry Ellis. Henry Ellis is everything John Reynolds is not. He's an excellent governor. He's an excellent administrator. He does an admirable job as Georgia's second royal governor. 1757 to 1760. Now, there is a character flaw in Henry Ellis. He had been a slave trader from 1750 to 1755. But he actually learned some things from being a slave trader. He learns how to deal with people of different cultures. Not only the people that he is buying and selling.
Per Dr. Greer, this afternoon all students are to be out of the building by 3:25, and Wolverine has been canceled.
Wow. Oh, Jackson, you're so lucky. He has like 6 hours.
Okay. Again, he learns how to deal with different cultures, and that helps him in his role as governor because he becomes very skilled at dealing with Native Americans, with the Indians. Now, most good leaders learn from their predecessors' mistakes or even their successes. And Henry Ellis learns from John Reynolds what not to do as governor. He learns from that guy's mistakes, from Reynolds' mistakes. And one of the things that he does is he creates a budget. Now, budget's what? A spending plan. We're going to bring in this much money, and we can spend it in these different ways. Your family probably has a budget. Your mom and dad know how much money they make in a year. They know they have certain bills they have to pay every month, their house payment, their electricity, gas, water, whatever, car payment. So all of that's in the budget. And hopefully they have some left over. Sometimes there's more month than there is money, though. Your budget is not necessarily, don't want to say it's not working, but you need some more income or less outgo. He also works with the Native Americans. He works with the colonists, and they begin to regulate trade with the Native Americans. And there's King George. Ellis works to increase the population. So he is actively recruiting people to come to Georgia to increase the population, because if he can increase the population, he can increase the productivity. More people working means more money, more economic activity. By 1759, the population has increased to over 10,000. Including 3,600 slaves. So slavery has really bloomed during this time. One last thing, 1759, Ellis becomes ill and has to return to Great Britain for treatment. Never again comes back to Georgia. And in 1760, his replacement is named. This fellow right here, James Wright. We'll talk about him tomorrow, because there's something going on in here and y'all need to be gone. It's that simple. There's a teacher thing.
Teacher
Classroom.
Yeah.
What's a month?
For a year.